Let's talk about this. This is breaking news from Pirate Nation. Ubisoft reportedly axed an Assassin's Creed game set in the post-Civil War Reconstruction era last year, guest starring Brer Rabbit. Protagonist, a black assassin formerly enslaved in the South who heads west. This is real, supposedly. Gameplay included battling the Ku Klux Klan, canceled amid U.S. political tension and backlash over Yasuke and Shadows. Who thought this was a good idea? This sounds like the wokest game ever. All right, this is coming from PC Gamer. They got more on it, and then we'll go back out to Twitter. Ubisoft reportedly canceled an Assassin's Creed game set around the American Civil War because of Yasuke backlash and political turmoil in the U.S. Yeah, probably not a good idea to put out an Assassin's Creed game where you're fighting the Klan in the South. The game was meant to primarily during the Reconstruction era, would feature a black assassin confronting the Ku Klux Klan. This is like the wet dream of like Sweet Baby Inc. or something. A new GameFile report claims that Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game that would have been set in the U.S. Civil War and the Reconstruction period that followed, according to GameFile sources. The decision to cancel the game was made in 2024, in part because of the backlash against the reveal of the Black Samurai Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Well, that's because we don't know historically if this guy actually existed or what his role was. And they tried to tell the Japanese that they were being racist if they didn't embrace this character, which was at that point, what we knew about him was primarily a work of fiction of like one white professor, because we don't know the whole story behind this guy. They said it's also because of concerns about the current political climate in the U.S. Actually, I'm waiting for Assassin's Creed Portland to happen. That's going to be crazy. GameFile says it interviewed 5 current and former Ubisoft employees who spoke about the project and its cancellation under the condition of anonymity. Could you imagine Assassin's Creed Portland and you're dressed as like an inflatable frog and you're fighting the Fash? Like 10 people would buy that and all the gaming journos would freaking love it. They would. The game was apparently going to tell the story of a formerly enslaved black man who, after moving west to start a new life, is recruited by the Assassin Brotherhood. Following that, he would return to the U.S. South, coming into conflict with groups including the Ku Klux Klan. While the white supremacist hate group that continues to operate today, the game was in the concept phase and years away from release when the cancellation occurred, but work was reportedly underway. Very, very bad idea. And I'm sure it would be modded so people could play as the other side. I mean, yeah. GameFile sources, all either current or former employees at Ubisoft, said developers were enthusiastic about the game, which some felt had the potential to make a positive social impact. The potential. I don't think it's going to go the way they think it's going to go. But despite initially being approved by Ubisoft leadership, and this is why they fail, it was eventually decided the subject matter was too controversial, especially now as the Trump administration makes moves to walk back civil rights legislation and restore honors and memorials to the Confederacy, which fought to maintain slavery during the Civil War. One source says it was too political and the country too unstable to make it short. While some of the game was meant to take place during the Civil War, the bulk of it would have been set during the Reconstruction era. Uncle Remus's Revenge. I don't know. The decade plus that immediately followed, the Reconstruction was intended to address matters like granting citizenship to former slaves, reintegrating former Confederate states into a restored U.S. The process faced furious and often violent resistance from whites in the South, which ultimately undermined it. Hey, if you wait long enough, according to Tim Pool, we're going to have another Civil War and they can make a game based on that. Like I said, you're going to have the Portland Frog. In other words, intensely fraught topic in the U.S., right? A point driven home by the reaction to Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is ugly, to put it mildly. It was ugly because the character was primarily a work of fiction and they didn't get basic facts about Japan right, and the Japanese were angry about it. And it wasn't just because he was a black guy. People are like, wait a second, we're playing as a samurai in the 1600s, and we don't even know if this guy existed or if he did, what his role was. And he's primarily a work of fiction as far as we can tell, but you're going to shove it down our throat anyway. And yeah, so translation, the game didn't make a lot of money, right? And that's yes. AC Shadows was total slop, even just as a game, says Symphony of the Night is. Yes, it didn't go very well, and everybody's forgotten about it already. The reaction also exposed the soft underbelly of Ubisoft leadership in response to noise from the worst corners of gamerdom. Are they gonna put Grums in this article too? Because his mere existence bothers these people. Our goal is not to push any specific agenda, said the CEO. Well, now it's kind of a moot point because they're going in with Tencent and they're spinning this shit off into something else. Ubisoft's self-professed apolitical bent goes back much further than Assassin's Creed Shadows, despite making games that look from a distance like they might have something to say. Far Cry 5 leaps immediately to mind. It's far from alone. Ubisoft has repeatedly insisted in the past does not make political games, but they hire political people. They do. Here, we'll talk about this. Heart Machine to end development on Sweet Baby Inc. Infected, Hyper Light Breaker, and lay off more employees. So Sweet Baby Inc. is somehow still a thing. Well, actually, I think they're probably canceling these games because everything they touch turns to crap. This has come from Fandom Pulse. Heart Machine, the developer of the Sweet Baby Inc. Infected, Hyper Light Breaker. Actually, visually, it doesn't look bad. It's kind of cool. All right, Hyper Light Breaker announced it will be ending development on the game in January, and they're laying off more employees. Spokesman informed game developer that development on the game will cease in January, and a significant portion of the company's employees will be laid off. Oh no. As we wrap up our work on Hyper Light Breaker, we've had to make the difficult decision to part ways with a number of talented team members. Well, yeah, because that's what happens. It's gig work, right? You get hired from game to game. This was not our ideal path, but rather the only one available given the circumstances. While this path will include a conclusion on the project, it reflects broader forces beyond our control. People aren't buying the Sweet Baby Inc. games. Maybe that's the problem. They're not buying this shit, right? Why would you throw good money after bad? Including shifts in funding, corporate consolidation, and the uncertain environment many small studios like us are navigating today. Players are rejecting these games. They're rejecting games that Sweet Baby Inc. and other organizations like them worked on. And I think they're just rejecting new games completely. Like a lot of people are going back and just playing old games. There are so many games out there. You could stop making video games tomorrow, and there are thousands of games that you have not played because nobody has enough time in their lifetime to play these games. And that's the thing. That's the reality. You're not just competing with other new games anymore. You're competing with 10-year-old games that are getting re-releases, 15-year-old games, online games that people are still playing, undiscovered classics, retro consoles, all that stuff you're competing with. So, I would say, why spend $100 million, $200 million, $300 million on some woke activists, brain fart or whatever that is going to fail, because everything that Sweet Baby Inc. has touched has failed for the most part because people are just rejecting them, right? They said the conclusion is expected to arrive in January. We have something coming in January. We plan to deliver something meaningful and as polished and complete as we can, given our current circumstances. That does not sound good. We're doing our best to refine what we can, complete key systems, and have the game culminate in a satisfying punctuation point. So we're going to release like a 75% done game or something because we fired everybody. Studio's not completely shutting down, but we'll have a smaller core team to continue developing games. Doesn't sound very good to me. That doesn't sound very good. This announcement comes about a year after it was reported the company dismissed a portion of its workforce, although it's unclear which departments this has affected. Additionally, it comes after the company launched a Patreon. Oh, that is definitely not good. When you're developing video games and you got to go to Patreon, this damn business, that is not good. They launched a Patreon in order to keep the company afloat. The company's founder and creative director, Alex Preston, said at the time, over the past 2 years, the industry has rapidly changed, flipped around, and turned upside down. Yep, got bent over and is taking it from behind, right? That's what's going on with the video game industry right now. Again, I'm not excited about many new games. I'm going back and playing a lot of older games, or I'm playing indie titles that are done by teams of maybe, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that feel like retro games. I'd rather spend my time, you know, doing that, playing games I know I'm going to like, or playing games I know are complete, or playing games that remind me of other games I know I liked. I'm not going to, sink 30 hours into something that Sweet Baby Inc. worked on. Hell no, right? I mean, funding for new projects is sparse, even for successful developers. Everything is far more expensive to make. Paths we used to be able to take to create projects no longer exist. The venture capital has run out. There's no more free money for you. There really isn't any more free money for you, right? You've likely heard about this game on some front. It's grim. 30% of all game developers have either been laid off or had their roles significantly reduced or affected over the past year alone. Studios have closed, many have left, and we at Heart Machine are not immune, having gone through layoffs in November of this year. Next, he shares specifically why he and the company are launching the Patreon. Yeah, this is not a good look, guys. Since the old models are not enough, we have to adapt. So we're asking for support to help us continue to not just survive, but adapt and thrive, to help us prototype and build new projects, to help support us in the state when the state of the industry has made it so much harder to exist. Ever since we got started back in the Kickstarter days, which, yeah, I agree with, you're taking pre-orders for a product, we've been big on talking to our audience, and we think this Patreon is an opportunity for us to do more on this front. Hyper Light Breaker was added to the Sweet Baby Inc. detected Steam curator group, given Sweet Baby Inc. revealed it had worked on the game in regards to world building, story structure, and character development. I'm sure it's fantastic. I'm sure it's just great. It's probably exactly the game you think it is. After releasing in January of 2025, the game hit a peak concurrent player count of just 5,230 people. That's better than some. That's better than Concord, right? Most recently, the game hit a 24-hour peak of 22 players. People are actively avoiding games that Sweet Baby Inc. Worked on, right? Wow. So, yeah, that's it, man. Game over. And I'm sorry. I mean, look, I think it's cool that there are projects that are funded with Patreon. I think it's cool that Patreon supports a lot of people, especially in the media, or people working on continued projects. Patreon's kind of dicey, though. I don't trust them. I actually prefer Substack. If you go out to news.clownfishtv.com, that's news.clownfishtv.com, help support us over there. But to fund your company, to fund an actual company with Patreon is not good. That's not a good sign. I'm just saying. So apparently Sweet Baby Inc. has killed yet another studio. I do not see them being around much longer. I don't see how they can be, because nobody wants to work with them, right? Even if you don't think they did anything wrong necessarily, who the hell is going to take a chance on working with them when gamers are going to reject your game outright if it makes that list? I'm just saying. It's pure poison.